Good evening, everyone. Call the meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. Okay, first item on the agenda, item number 3, public comment. Is there any public comment?
I need an agenda.
Is there any public comment? That's one last time, any public comment? Close public comment.
Just one.
Go ahead, Mr. Moore.
The public comment, Michael Flynn, 85 Stoker Street, Seymour, Connecticut. This public comment is it's open on any subject, right? Or is it?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I think Cherry Street needs to be looked at, you know. First of all, I know Karen brought out a while back about these large trees around town. You go up Cherry Street Hill, you have huge trees up there. Though one of those things gets struck by lightning, you're going to have somebody in a car up there, you're going to have a fatality. Another thing, I think that Cherry Street should be one way. If you drive up there from the area of Key Rights, and then you go to the intersection, even with a compact car, you really have to take a severe right turn or a left turn there. If somebody's coming down that hill, it's going to be a fatality. You know? Okay, on First Avenue, I've noticed when you go down past St. Augustine's, you take a right, and when you go onto First Avenue, there's a huge pothole there. Not so much a pothole, but it's a depression. You know, looks like it needs some patch, you know. And if you go down here, right where we just come to the City Hall there, it's somewhat scandalous. You got potholes right there. Okay, that's it. Okay.
Is there any other public comment? Okay, hearing no other public comment. Move on to item number 4, approval of the minutes from our April 1st, 2014 meeting. Have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Motion by Len.
Second.
Second by Nicole. Is there any discussion?
Just some typos.
Okay, whereabouts?
On page 5, item 13, the sentence says, if you have any questions, it should be or concerns.
Oh, concurs.
And I'm sorry, on page 4, I guess it's item number 8, it says second Paul, should say Paul Roy.
Okay.
That's it, that's it.
Okay. Any others?
Yeah.
Any others?
No, just a comment, actually. I don't know if this is appropriate at this point or not, but I had sent an email out to the other board members. I'm not sure if you'd seen it or not. I believe it was to the town email addresses, so maybe you don't check it very often. But I made a recommendation, and I think it might behoove us as board members to try to fix these, you know, if there's a typo or a grammatical error or something like that that we see ahead of time, try to do that before the meeting rather than doing it during the meeting, just in the interest of keeping the public's time, rather than, you know, going through and saying, well, we're missing an N here in the word concerns, or the S in citing is incorrect or something like that. I think it would be more appropriate for us to only make substantive changes as opposed to grammatical or spelling changes during the meeting. That's why actually I had made several recommendations, and Leanna had actually changed it ahead of time before the meeting itself. So I'd like to encourage at least the other board members. I'm going to try to do that when we get the email packet ahead of time, so that those minor changes can be fixed ahead of time, and we can only focus on, or we could rather focus on substantive changes rather than the little things. We can do that.
I'd like to agree with you, except I'm not a trained high school teacher, and it's what I do.
I understand. I just think it's a better use of our time and the public's time if we try to do it ahead of time.
Absolutely, I agree with Len. It's great that we have you come in to do the grammatical errors, and it's appreciated, but it'll save time now at our meeting if we just do it. Shoot Leanna an email, you can call her and say, listen, I found these errors, and we don't have to talk about it now.
Well, I haven't seen these minutes online, so, you know, I picked the minutes up yesterday and read them and saw the omissions. I wouldn't have even brought it up, except Kurt always looks to me.
Well, I mean, we need to have the proper punctuation, spelling, thoughts in the minutes, so. But I mean, if you get it ahead of time and you want to email in, we can keep track of the changes so everybody knows that's not a problem, and make sure we have those. Okay? Good. Okay, item number 5, first Selectman's report. Handed out in front of you, maybe not tonight's the best night for the sake of time, but there's a presentation that I did at the public hearing. We had a rousing crowd there that night. I believe we had 4. So I didn't do the full-fledged presentation, which in and itself is probably about a half hour. Because I do a deep dive on a lot of the important issues of the town's finances. So if you'd like, I can go through this at the next meeting. I can go through this now, whichever you prefer. But I know Karen's got a scoop because she's got grandmother duties tonight. So maybe tonight's not the best night. But if you guys like, if you want to look at it, we can put it on the agenda for our next meeting. I can certainly go through and address any questions or concerns that anyone has. The reason I bring this up is, and again, it's the first part of the first Selectman's report. We had a bond rating call last week with S&P, which went extremely well. We're expecting our new rating on April 22nd. The feedback that we got from the examiners was extremely positive. A lot of the areas that we went over are in this report. I basically used this presentation with the rating agency, so it went very, very well. Just to continue on, I presented the state of the town's financial condition at the annual budget public hearing. Turnout was extremely low, and anyone interested in seeing a copy of the presentation, like I just mentioned, so that's there. I attended the CEO reception in Waterbury for the new Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments. The event gave everyone the opportunity to chat in a more social setting to allow people to get to know each other better. I thought it was a great kickoff event to officially bring the two councils together. I look forward to a very long and positive relationship with the town of Seymour. Attended the Greater Bridgeport Valley Metropolitan Planning Organization quarterly meeting to discuss transportation needs of the area. While our COG will be changing on 1/1/2015, our MPO will remain the same for the next few years. So while on the COG side, we will be with Waterbury, on the MPO side, we'll be with Bridgeport. So it's going to be it's a well thought out plan by the state. Had the privilege of attending the Italian American Legislators Dinner. It was a great opportunity to meet with several state leaders to discuss the challenges and issues that are facing Seymour and the direction that we are moving forward in. Attended a meeting with the Communication Commission, Seymour Police Department, and Northeast Communications to discuss the ongoing communication issues facing the town. We left the meeting with some action steps that we've taken over the next few years to improve the situation and provide our emergency personnel with a better communication system. Then finally had the chance to run in the Easter 5K in Derby to benefit Umbrella. It was a great time to benefit a great cause, and I'm just happy that I was able to finish. So, I'm still here. So, okay, with that, I will close the first Selectman's report. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to add to the agenda discussion of possible action regarding letter to DOT Commissioner Redeker regarding Cedar Street's fencing issue.
So moved.
Motion by Len, second by Nicole. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Chair votes aye. Motion passes 6-0. Next item on the agenda, discussion of possible action regarding letter to DOT Commissioner Redeker regarding Cedar Street fencing. You should all have a letter in front of you. This issue was brought to my attention by Len about the fence. As you know, Len is our representative to Public Works Board. This was discussed last night with them in great length. So Len, if you want to give us a little update in detail on that conversation, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Essentially, I'm sure many of you probably have driven down Cedar Street and actually Derby Avenue as well, both in the commercial zone and the residential section. There's an old fence that I believe was erected probably around the time, or maybe at the time that Route 8 was put in. It's been there for decades, and it's so old that in many places trees have actually grown into it and around it, and essentially it's fallen apart. It's an issue that actually, when I was a state representative, I brought up to the Department of Transportation to ask them to repair or replace the fence itself. No action was taken. I think occasionally they'll come out and put a new section up, which will immediately fall apart. So long story short, we discussed this last night at the Public Works meeting, and Craig Stevens has actually had conversations with our local area Department of Transportation representatimes. Apparently they've claimed that it's the town's responsibility, which is historically has not been true. At the meeting last night, we all decided that maybe it's time for the town to take the next step. I actually drove down today. I took some pictures of the fence. There's a very large section on Cedar Street in particular that's come down. It's actually laying on the ground. In my opinion, it's a safety hazard. People's pets, I'm sure, have been hit by cars on Route 8 just running through the fence there. But the thing that scares me the most is somebody's 2-year-old kid running out the front door and making a beeline for the highway because it's available. The State Department of Transportation has had no interest in fixing this, so I think that the town, we as the Board of Selectmen, I think it's time for us to officially request that fence be addressed. I know it's not a big issue, but, or at least from the state's perspective, it's not a big issue, but to us, in my opinion, it is a big issue. Not to mention the fact that it looks terrible. And, we have the Seymour Pink 5K that runs in that area. It's an embarrassment to the town, in my opinion, and, it needs to be addressed. So I took the liberty this afternoon, I drafted a letter that we can all take a look at. I think either Rory's passed it out or maybe it's in front of you right now. That hopefully, if we can all agree on it, sign the letter, send it off to the Commissioner of the Department of Transportation directly, and try to get this thing resolved.
Yeah, I'll just read the letter. Dear Commissioner Redeker, we are writing to you to address potential hazards which have developed in the town of Seymour due to a lack of maintenance to a section of fencing owned and maintained by the State Department of Transportation. The fencing, which was installed decades ago, runs parallel to Route 8 through the town of Seymour, adjacent to several residential neighborhoods and a highly visible commercial zone. The fence in the area of Cedar Street and Derby Ave in Seymour has fallen into a state of disrepair that many sections have fallen down, broken apart, and deteriorated beyond repair. This, as you can imagine, poses a significant safety hazard to household pets, which often wander onto Route 8 through the damaged fence and are struck by traffic on the highway. Most importantly, there exists a serious concern that small children can easily enter onto Route 8 through the fence, which is no longer an adequate safety barrier in that area. Finally, the fencing that runs along the commercial zone in Derby Avenue in Seymour has also fallen into disrepair and poses similar safety concerns, in addition to the fact that it has become an impediment to effective economic development in the area. Representatives from the Seymour Department of Public Works and the Connecticut General Assembly have raised these concerns numerous times over the years, but the fence has not been adequately repaired. Therefore, the Seymour Board of Selectmen is formally requesting that the State Department of Transportation replace the fencing in question. In the interest of public safety, we believe that the state of Connecticut should address these concerns as soon as possible. We've attached photographs of the fencing in question to better illustrate our concerns. Thank you for your prompt attention to this matter. Sincerely, and it will have all 7 of our signatures, assuming we all agree with this statement. So, anybody have any questions or comments?
I did bring that up about the fence at the meetings a few months ago.
I agree with Len wholeheartedly on this. It's really is something that really needs, it should have been addressed a long time ago, there's no doubt about it. We've all noticed that, different sections, whether from cars hitting, trees falling, whatever, or just old age, it really does need to be replaced. And I do believe that it's the state's responsibility to replace it, not the town of Seymour.
Oh, absolutely. And that one section just past Rose Street now, where it's basically just, it's completely wide open now.
Thanks for taking the lead on this one.
Sure. Okay, so I'll ask for a motion to approve the letter as presented, but before we do that, Rory has an official copy, which don't leave without signing. Okay, so we'll have all 7 signatures on it. I think it would be good if, and we'll, in fact, Anne Marie is sick tonight, but we'll have her sign that tomorrow, and we'll get that out in the mail before the holiday. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to present to Commissioner Redeker, the Connecticut Department of Transportation, the letter as presented by Selectman Green.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Al, second by Karen. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The chair votes aye. Motion passes 6-0. Thanks for your work on that one. Item number 6, discussion, take possible action on the setting of the annual town budget meeting for Monday, April 21st at 7 p.m. at the Seymour Middle School. The reason we need to move the date is the registrars had some concerns about getting the ballots prepared in time for the first referendum vote. We had some conversation with Rich, Town Council Turla, and he indicated that making this change would not be an issue. So at this point, then, I'd like to entertain a motion to set the annual town meeting of the electors and citizens qualified to vote in the town meeting of the town of Seymour, Connecticut, to be held at the Seymour Middle School, Seymour, Connecticut, Monday, April 21st, 2014,
So
at 7 p.m.
Second.
Motion by Karen, second by Len. Just under discussion, again, we will be setting an agenda for a special Board of Selectmen meeting to start at 7:05. p.m. on the 21st at the middle school. If we do not have a quorum of 50 residents, the selectmen will need to take action to move the budget onto referendum vote. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The chair votes aye, motion passes 6-0. Next item on the agenda is item number 7, discussion, take possible action on acquisition of property at 111A Squantuck Road. This is back before us again. There was an issue with the transfer that was raised by Mr. Zawicki, so we needed to redo the control item. So tonight we'll be voting on control item revised number 9. It's transferring the amount of $10,000 from fund balance to property purchase, and then I'm going to read under the notes just to make sure that it is clear, and then Rich, you can comment to make sure I've covered all the bases. The detailed explanation is to purchase water company property approved by the Board of Selectmen. The resolution is attached. The property purchase price is $20,000. This transfer addresses the $10,000 fund balance transfer, which along with $10,000 conservation account contribution will be used for the purchase. The town has an agreement with each of the affected property owners, which will be recorded as a receivable, and these funds will be remitted to the town as they become available in accordance with the prescribed schedules. So can I have a motion to accept the transfer as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Len, second by Nicole. Under discussion, each resident will be contributing $1,500 towards the purchase of the property. 3 of the 5 residents have already put the money in escrow with town council. One other resident is currently in a nursing home. An agreement is in place that that money will be paid when she passes away. And then the 5th is a young family who unfortunately does not have the $1,500, but they are working with town council to work on an agreement to pay us $100 a month for the next 15 months. So all the residents will be taking part in this purchase. Any questions or comments? Because as soon as we're done, the Board of Finance is actually down in the Flaherty room, so they will take action on this. We'll be able to cut the check, and Attorney Stanek will be able to go to the courthouse tomorrow to start the process. There's no other questions. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Chair votes aye. Motion passes 6-0. Can you write down the Flaherty room and let them know that it passed? Here, I don't know if they have. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda, I'd like to make a motion to add discussion and possible action regarding resolution for sidewalk restoration phase 4.
So moved.
Motion by Len,
Second.
second by Paul. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Chair votes aye. Motion passes 6-0. Next item on the agenda, discussion and possible action regarding resolution for the sidewalk replacement phase 4. This is a resolution of the legislative body of the town to allow us to apply for sidewalk replacement phase 4 through the STEEP program with the state of Connecticut. So as I'll read the resolution. Whereas pursuant to Connecticut General Statute Section 4-66G, the Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development is authorized to extend financial assistance for economic development projects, and whereas it is desirable and in the public interest that the town of Seymour make an application to the state for $200,000 in order to undertake the sidewalk replacements phase 4 and to execute an assistance agreement, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Selectmen that 1, it is cognizant of the conditions and prerequisites for the state assistance imposed by Connecticut General Statute Section 4-66G, and number 2, that the filing of an application for state financial assistance by the town of Seymour in an amount not to exceed $200,000 is hereby approved, and that W. Kirk Miller, First Selectman, is directed to execute and file such applications with the Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development, to provide such additional information, to execute such other documents as may be required, to execute an assistance agreement with the state of Connecticut for state financial assistance, if such an agreement is offered, to execute any amendments, decisions, and revisions thereto, and to act as the authorized representative of the town of Seymour. I have a motion to accept the resolution as read.
So moved.
Motion by Len, second by Nicole. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The chair votes aye. Motion passes 6-0. Next item on the agenda, discussion, take possible action on tactical response vehicle. Oh, this has my notes on it. Thank you. Okay, the chief of police, and I'll have Rich speak on this in a moment, but for the Region 2 Regional Emergency Planning Team, we have the ability as a group, and I'll pass a picture around because I call it a tank, but I'm not really sure it's a tank. It's kind of an urban assault vehicle that will be shared by several towns in the region. They were able to purchase it through this regional cooperation using federal money. The agreement that, and I'll have Rich go into a little bit more in depth on this, is just our use of the vehicle. So Rich, if you could.
There is a hold harmless and indemnification agreement that has been put together for the various municipalities who are part of the Region 2 Emergency Planning Team. They participate in a regional SWAT team, and the bottom line is this. By executing this agreement, by approving and authorizing Kurt to enter into this agreement and then executing it, the town of North Haven, which owns and maintains the Lenco Bearcat Armored Tactical Response Vehicle, which has been designed for deployment by a Police Special Weapons and Tactics Team, will be, North Haven Police Department will allow that vehicle to be essentially loaned out in the care and custody of the various police departments that participate in Region 2 without any North Haven police officers being involved. And so the town that takes custody, from the time the town picks it up from the North Haven Police Department garage to the time they return it, it is our responsibility to indemnify them should they be basically sued for some action taken by our officers. So it only seems fair, and from what I understand, all of the other municipalities are executing the agreement. There's an insurance requirement that is attached to it, and the agreement itself is in good order, and I recommend moving forward with it so that the police chief and the police department can utilize this vehicle on an as-needed basis.
Correct. And I'll just ask the question, how much is it? There's no cost to the town.
No.
There's no cost.
Who maintains it?
North Haven.
North Haven actually maintains it, and we have a responsibility to take care of it
When we use it?
Yes.
That's the only financial,
Yeah, yeah.
to fill it with gas and wash it and not hurt it.
Yeah,
Yes.
and in fact, yes, they maintain it, but don't scratch it.
It's quite a, I guess everything that's here is except the big machine gun that would sit on the top of it. So, I mean, hopefully we will never ever have a need for this, but in the event that it rises, you know, as opposed to one town having this, I think it's much better in cooperation with.
Does that have a water cannon on it too?
No,
It looks like it.
actually it does not, but it is a armored tactical response vehicle.
So,
Kurt, the only comment I have is something that Rich said, that we would be responsible to go get the vehicle and bring it back. In the essence of time, couldn't some agreement be made to meet at full those folks at least halfway? I mean, you know, by the time you get to North Haven and back, situation may be over. It may be escalated, you know, I mean, it's something to consider. I don't know how we can work that into an agreement. That's something obviously you have to discuss with them.
I am sure the police chiefs
yeah, I think if
will
there was
work
an
that out
emergency
in
and they called,
a
Yeah.
cooperative basis.
I'm sure they would.
The concept is, if North Haven has control of the vehicle, then it's their responsibility. But if they loan it out, like
Yeah.
you loan your
I
car to your
understand
neighbor,
that, yeah.
then it's,
Yeah.
so in terms of, the agreement literally reads, and there's a form attached for the department that's picking up the vehicle. That's how it's been put together. But I'm sure the police chiefs will cooperate in terms of,
I'm sure if something went down where we required a vehicle like this, we would require manpower as well. And I would hope that North Haven would not only send a truck, but several of their trained tactical guys
And
or people.
don't forget the state police have certain capabilities as well.
Right.
What is it used for? I mean, what's the purpose of it? And, I mean, North Haven isn't exactly a hotbed of crime.
The Elenco Bearcat
What is it
is
used
an
for?
armored tactical response vehicle
Yeah.
designed for deployment by a police special weapons and tactical team, special response team, or
To drive
tactical
through
unit,
something.
also known as a SWAT team.
When the SWAT team gets called in for, what does I assume, hostage situations or something like that? I guess I can't fathom when we need it, but I'm glad we have the
I can give
opportunity
you
to have it
just
if we
some
need it.
background. SWAT teams are utilized for a variety of situations, including the execution of high-risk search warrants.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we do have, as you know, the ESU team is back
Sure.
now.
And the restaurants.
They have a truck, but they don't have anything to this caliber.
You do.
And
You
also,
do.
we had a mock tragedy at the high school in August, and a vehicle like this might have been helpful where a bomb went off and there were people killed
Yep.
in the demonstration.
I think it's far more economical to have several towns share it as opposed to, I couldn't even imagine what the actual cost of this, but I would assume it's several $100,000 for a vehicle like this. So, and hopefully we will never ever need it. Okay, any other questions? Okay, all in favor of accepting the resolution as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstained? Or excuse me, no? Abstained? The chair votes aye, motion passes 6-0. Apologize, I did that backwards. Okay, item number 9, discussion take possible action on 2014 Comcast Care Days. In your packet, you have a letter from Comcast. It says, Dear First Selectman Miller, Comcast Cares Day, which takes place each April during National Volunteer Month, is Comcast and NBC Universal signature day of service and the nation's largest single-day corporate volunteer effort. Our 13th annual Comcast Care Days will take place on Saturday, April 26, 2014. This year we anticipate 80,000 plus volunteers at more than 700 projects in 39 states and Washington, D.C. Comcast Cares Day is how we join together to make changes happen in our communities. To date, more than 500,000 volunteers have contributed over 3 million volunteer hours since Comcast Cares Day started in 2001. Since the inception of our annual day of service, the Comcast Foundation has contributed grants totaling $14 million to local nonprofit partner organizations on behalf of each employee and immediate family members who volunteered. Last year, the foundation donated $1.7 million to our Comcast Care Days community partners nationwide. We invite you to join us at our local Comcast Cares Day service project at Seymour Boys and Girls Club. We are expecting employees, family members, and friends to be on hand to landscape and do some spring cleanup. Event details are as follows. It will be Saturday, April 26th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Seymour Boys and Girls Club, 20 Pine Street. We'll follow up with your office shortly to check your availability. In the meantime, if you have any questions about Comcast Care Day, I can be reached at, and she provides her number. It's signed Sharon Konami, Director, Government and Regulatory Affairs. They also provided a proclamation, which I will read and hope that we will ratify, and I will present to them that morning. It says, whereas Comcast remains an active, committed, and engaged member of the Seymour community, whereas Comcast supports the core American value of volunteerism through partnerships, grants, and volunteer activities that empowers individuals and organized communities, and whereas Comcast Care Day is a signature celebration of service and has become the nation's largest single-day corporate volunteer effort that brings employees, families, friends, and community partners together for a common purpose and mission, and whereas Comcast is celebrating its 13th Comcast Care Days and has reached important milestones, including 3 million volunteer hours and 500,000 volunteers since Comcast Care Day started in 2001, and whereas Comcast Care Day promotes a spirit of corporate responsibility thanks to the hard work, dedication, and service of the Comcast volunteers in the Seymour community. Now, therefore, I, W. Kurt Miller, First Selectman of the Town of Seymour, do hereby proclaim April 26, 2014 as Comcast Care Day. I have a motion to accept the proclamation as read.
So moved.
A motion by Nicole, second by Al. Is there any discussion? So we will put this on, just under discussion, we'll put this on proper letterhead and make the proclamation, and I will present it to them on the 26th of the month. So if there's no other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Chair votes aye. Motion passes 6-0. Next item on the agenda, item number 10, Discussion, take possible action on 2012 State Homeland Security Grant Program Region 2 Memorandum of Agreements. I will read the authorizing resolution. This is a certification that Susan DeBarber, the Town Clerk of Seymour, Connecticut, do hereby certify that the following is true and correct copy of a resolution adopted by the Board of Selectmen its duly called and held meeting on April 15, 2014, at which a quorum was present and acting throughout, and that the resolution has not been modified, rescinded, or revoked, and is at present in full force and effect. And the resolution is as follows. Resolved that the Board of Selectmen may enter into with and deliver to the State of Connecticut Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security any and all documents which it deems to be necessary or appropriate, and further resolved that W. Kurt Miller, First Selectman of the Town of Seymour, is authorized and directed to execute and deliver any and all documents on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, and to do all and perform all acts and things which he deems to be necessary or appropriate to carry out the terms of such documents, including but not limited to executing and delivering all agreements and documents contemplated by such documents. The undersigned further certifies that W. Kurt Miller now holds the office of First Selectman, and that he has held the office since December 5th of 2011. And then it says, in witness thereof, the undersigned shall execute, and that asks for Mrs. DeBarber's signature as Town Clerk. So can I have a motion to accept the resolution as presented? Motion by Karen, second by Nicole. Any discussion? Rich, any comments you'd like to add?
No, sounds like it's all in order.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Chair votes aye, motion passes 6-0. Next item on the agenda, item number 11, discussion, take possible action on the 2014 Farmers Market. As you know, I presented this documentation at our last meeting. Just for reference, the Gazy Brothers Farm is asking to once again hold the Seymour Farmers Market at the Community Center parking lot at Pine Street from May 13th through November 18th. As they have in the past. So this is a letter requesting our permission to do so. Rich, is there anything special we need to do, or can we just accept their request as they had in the past, pending insurance and all other required paperwork?
That'll work.
Let's put it on the table and then we can go. All right, so at this point, I'll entertain a motion to accept the Gazy Brothers Farm request to hold the Seymour Farmers Market at the Seymour Community Center parking lot on Pine Street from May 13th through November 18th.
So moved.
Motion by Len, second by Nicole. Under discussion, Nicole, go ahead.
I thought I read something, did they say they were going to have meat there this year? Did I make that up? I thought I saw meat there.
It's the fourth one down in bold.
And then how are they going to refrigerate that?
Oh, they bring trucks in. They're
Oh, to stay in the trucks, okay.
yeah,
They have to comply with all
all
health
Right.
regulations.
requirements.
Thank you.
I think they were trying to, where in the past it was just farmers of the area, they wanted to add some other things to bring
Right,
in.
no, that's great.
Just to grow it a little bit, which would certainly be nice, I think, for all the residents. Okay, if there's no other questions or comments, and again, I think the Gazys have been there now for many years. 10, maybe?
Yeah.
Probably 10. Okay, hearing no other questions or comments, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Chair votes aye, motion passes 6-0. Next item on the agenda, item number 12, discussion, take possible action on the COG ordinance to officially move from the Valley Council of Governments to the newly formed Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments. We need to change our ordinances. So I wanted to present the ordinance that was put together by Attorney Welch, who is counsel for the Valley Council of Governments. This information was reviewed by Attorney Paterla on our end, just to make sure that there was no issues. So what I'd like to do is ask for the board's permission to call the ordinance committee into session, to have the ordinance committee review the ordinance, send it back to the Board of Selectmen for proper course of action. So at this point, does anyone have any questions on the resolution? And again, you'll notice the resolution is almost identical to the original resolution that was passed in 2000. I believe 2001, the only thing that was changed was the word Naugatuck was added in front of Valley across the board. or the same ordinances are being presented in the cities of Ansonia, Derby, and Shelton. Our goal is to all move to the new COG together in the month of July. Anything you'd like to add, Mr. Paterno?
No, I think it's all in order, and you want to move promptly.
So then I will work with Nicole and Karen just to set up a time. It'll just be a 5 or 10 minute meeting, just to go through it. Okay. All right, thank you very much. Okay, next item on the agenda is item number 13. Set public hearing for Tuesday, May 6, 2014 at 6:45 PM in the Norma Drummer Room regarding the COG ordinance change. I have a motion to set that. Motion by Len, second by Al. Is there any discussion? And again,
It's Monday.
it's Tuesday. May 6th
It
is a
says-
Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a typo. Sorry. I was saying May 6th, but on the calendar I was pointing to Monday. So there's a little confusion between Rory and I. And that'll be right before our regularly scheduled May 6th meeting. Okay, no other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The chair votes aye. Motion passes 6-0. Item number 14, discussion, take possible action on 2014-2015 capital plan. Okay, the capital plan that I presented to you at our last meeting, I had some initial reservations about if we move forward with this plan or not, based on the needs of communication for our emergency management folks and a simulcast system. After having the meeting last week, we've determined that we can make some temporary updates to the system to allow the coverage that we need, and then give us the opportunity to present that plan to the 10-year strategic planning committee and move forward on putting the simulcast system in over the next 3 to 4 years. The Communication Commission, as well as the police department and other emergency management folks that were in the room, were comfortable with that course of action. So I will continue working on that with Tom Amy and the Communications Commission, and that, like I said, will be presented to the 10-year strategic planning committee to make it official. So we have that and be built into the capital plan going forward. So having said that, I would like to bring forward for approval from this board the following long-term capital plan. We are in year 2 of our capital plan itself. As you know, each year we put aside $100,000. We use short-term borrowing, which allows us to buy about $300,000 worth of, I guess, goods and services, for lack of a better term. Once we complete year 3 in next budget, which would be the budget 15-16, that money will be built into the budget, and we'll be able to continue these purchases going forward, no impact to taxes to the residents. This plan was actually very well received by S&P. They were actually quite excited to hear that we had something like this, that we were proactively addressing our capital, not only by having the plan itself, the wish list, but actually having a funding mechanism to do that. A lot of communities don't actually have that. So just starting at the top, and separate from the capital plan itself, is I'm recommending another $125,000 be put into the road program for our proactive road account. You can see how that ramps up over the next several years, with our goal to get up to $700,000 in the year 2019-2020. I've broken the capital request down by department, so you can see who's asking for what and how it breaks down. So there's requests by my office, Public Works, by the Parks Department, Public Works, the Fire Department, the Police Department, and Emergency Management. In total, we have $300,000 worth of items that we'd like to purchase. Of particular note for the board, because these are coming from out of my office, we have about $30,000 put aside for ADA updates for downtown. As you know, we had the town engineer go around and look at curb cuts and things like that. So that will be addressed. We're also working through LoSiP funds to have all of the trees in downtown Seymour removed and all the sidewalks repaired. LoSiP is going to cover that under ADA compliance. That's probably going to cost us in the neighborhood of about $25,000 to do all that. But by the end of this summer, we should have curb cuts all completely redone, trees taken out, sidewalks back to their original form. I'm also asking for $5,000 for a Municast system. Municast system is a special system that the Finance Department, as well as the 10-year Strategic Planning Commission, can use to allow them to do financial projections and outlooks. I think it's a very important piece of equipment, for lack of a better term, that these groups have. So when we do our financial projections, we can put some strong data behind it. Again, S&P was very excited to hear that we're willing to make an investment like that into the MuniCast system to have that tool. $90,000 for another Ford F-550 Mason body dump truck. $5,000 for new large snowplow blades. $15,000 for flagpole lighting at French Park. As you know, we spent some money in there redoing the Civil War monument, and the American Legion is working to add additional stones for the rest of Vietnam, as well as Iraqi freedom and the other events. So I think it's extremely important that we invest some money that to honor our veterans. We're going to continue our oil tank removal process by putting aside another $20,000 for that. The boiler at the Public Works building is getting near its useful shelf life, so we need to consider replacing that. We want to start a portable radio purchasing program for the police department. We're going to break it up over 2 years. The cost is going to be about $32,000, so we're going to do $16,000 a year. Also, I'm sorry, on page 1 at the very bottom, we're going to buy an additional license plate reader for a patrol car. The cost is $17,500. We found that to be a very useful tool in containing crime in the town. The fire department has asked for a few pieces of equipment. They wanted to upgrade their mobile radios. They wanted to upgrade mobile computers to tablets, which is very important for the chiefs when they're on scene. And then they wanted to start to upgrade their thermal imaging cameras again, which is a safety tool to protect the firemen, which I think is important. And then beneath that, you can see there's going to be some upgrades to Citizens Engine, which is an extremely old building. They want to upgrade the generator circuits as well as work on the HVAC thermostats. The final piece will be $15,000 for the emergency management truck. It needs some body work as well as some paint. Again, that is a recycled truck from the police department, and we want to make sure that that truck is kept up to snuff and last. So that is the $300,000. I've worked on this plan with the finance director as well as the director of operations. We got information from the different department heads, and this is what I'd like to present for your approval this evening. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to accept the long-term capital plan for budget year 2014-2015 as presented.
Second.
Motion by Nicole, second by Len. Under discussion. Any questions, comments? Please fire away.
Question, Kurt, under emergency management, the truck, can you go into a little more detail?
It needs to be repainted, and there is some body rot and things like that that will be prepared. Tom Amy has gone out and gotten a quote, and that is the price that he's come back with. The truck in question, I apologize, this is the old rescue truck, the red rescue truck that we just replaced. It can't be red anymore, it needs to be painted black and white. They can't have the truck red, so that's part of the problem as well. Any other questions, comments, thoughts? The Board of Finance in their budget has already put the $100,000 in, the funding mechanism is there, but it is the responsibility of the Selectmen to determine how that money is spent. So if there's no other questions or comments, go ahead.
No, I have to follow.
Good.
So what's going on with the color of the truck? It was purchased red, or do we have it painted red and now we have to paint it black and white?
It was purchased red for the fire department 20 years ago, and then when it came out of service, it's still red. So now we need to paint it black and
And once
white.
it's out of service, you have to change the color, is that the?
It can't be, my understanding is it cannot be used red for that position.
All right.
And again, it does need some minor body work.
Good. Thank you.
Sure. And again, this is the new rescue truck that we just purchased for $500,000, $600,000. There's no other comments, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Chair votes aye, motion passes 6-0. Next item on the agenda, executive session. We will discuss pending litigation, I can't even speak, Cataract versus the town of Seymour. And we will invite Town Council Baterla, as well as
Attorney Emily Constantino of the firm of Howden Ludor that served as insurance defense counsel representing the town in connection with this litigation.
Okay, with that said, I'll make a motion to go into executive session at 7:46 PM.